Hello everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Maciek Jagodziński and the team for the invitation for this intense and very profound meeting. And before presentation starts, I would say about a small story. Several weeks ago, I met in Klaipėda one of my friends who travels much more than me and must in USA, South Korea, Japan, real geography. And he told that, Roman, I knew that Americans always begin their speech with jokes, but I've been really astonished, and I saw how every Japanese begins his speech with apology. I'm apologizing. So I'm really apologizing for not having any special jokes for my speech, and to be serious. So I would like to present the primary results of the work I've been doing for the last 2 years. The results of postdoc project whose original name is Development of the Social, Economical and Cultural Development of the Western Baltic tribes from the 10th to the beginning of the 7th century. So the title of the upcoming book I'm on preparation is Western Balts in this time after the Vikings and just before the Crusades. Which have appeared certainly not on the empty place. The 4 years before postdoc I have dedicated to the case study of two Western Balts sorted cultures, Russian and Curonian contacts, interactions, cultures comparison. So this is the base of the study I'm talking about. And after the defense of dissertation in November 2012, 3 months later I have started the project, which of the aims, one of the main aims of this project was to collect as much as possible of Western Balts, I mean Russians, Curonians, Scaldians, and their close neighbors, data in the scientific centers around the world. So I have succeeded to, not succeed yet. I have managed to visit 37 scientific institutions in 8 countries for these 2 years. And I'm very thankful to all my colleagues, some of which are sitting here from Poland and Germany, for support. And first of all, archaeological museums, archives, and so on, with a special attention to Prussia, Sammlung, or Prussia Museum, which collection been stored in Königsberg and then up to be divided for numerous archives and the three general parts, one of which is still stored in Königsberg, the second one in the smallest one in Olsztyn-Adenstein, and the biggest one in Berlin, so this triangle, which similar to the 3 parts of this Viking Age brooch, I have connected them for the Western Balts material culture from the late Viking, post-Viking age in a virtual space, I would say. And certainly, being in the preparation of this work, I began to think if there were some other researchers who had the same or the similar ideas. And I found that the famous East Prussian archaeologist Karl Engel, Christoph Jan told something about him. He had, in the 30s, he had begun the work a little bit similar to mine. He began the preparation of the second volume of a prehistory of Prussian tribes, and even has announced the upcoming book. I hope that the fate of my work will not be the same and so tragic that Karl Engel's one, but working still in his heritage stored in Marburg, in Berlin, in Schleswig. We find that some patterns of his work connecting and comparing Western Balts culture's pattern was a little bit similar to the work I'm doing now. Yeah. So the base of this work, I mean this Western Balts from after the Vikings and before the Crusades, are the research of more than 200 cemeteries, settlements, hoards and other sealed and unsealed deposits, mainly from Prussian Samland-Natangin group, then after South Caronia, Scalven region, some of southern Prussian area, primarily from Elblągu group, the terra incognita of Prussia, the Galindian and the Nathan-Yetvingian lands, and certainly I have worked quite a lot with Nathan Curonian materials to compare them with the South Curonian pattern. So, and yeah, and certainly, first of all, one of the aims was to collect as much as possible and in diverse the main types of the ornaments, arms, horse harnesses, and so on, characteristic to the both Curonian, Prussian, Scalvian, and their neighbors. And if to compare the work of dissertation, those 2 years was kind of fruitful. I have filled the catalogs of dissertation from 30 to 60%, within the small, especially within the small Latvian, small Lithuanian provincial museums, not the big ones, only which I done during the dissertation. And so every single type of brooch in this work is represented by the short description, by the map, and by the catalog. So I made for every distinguished type of finds for the post-Viking age in the Western Balts area. So if to go next, so certainly the finds are very important, but we know that in the scale of normal typology, in the scale of traditional chronology, the place of imports is very important, and the center of the Western Baltic area, I mean the Sambia, Southern Curoni, and the Scalven area, is a very fruitful background to the investigation of those relations of the East and the West, for example. I mean the concentration of the Western imports from the 11th century are constantly growing, the same as of Eastern ones. The slides reminds me the swords of Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, you know, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. Okay, so and after the receivers after the research of the situation of import, this I had mine, and just remember that it is red, like Darth Vader's model. So and after the research of imports, it came that the concentration of eastern imports in the Sambian Peninsula, it's almost the same to the Eastern Latvia, with no slight connection to the old Rus lands itself. And if to specify the situation, for example, the map of the Prussians with the distribution of Eastern imports, for example, it's very interesting. For example, that in the Northern Prussian area we have a lot of Eastern imports characterized for the early Polish state, for example, but no any sign of Eastern Christian symbolic. And for example, if we are going to the southern Prussian area with a lot of silver hoards of 10th, 11th century, to compare to Zambia, we found quite a lot of Christian symbolic, but no graves at all, supported with the Eastern jewelry or other artifacts. So despite their similarity in language, in burial rites, in morphologically, in culture, every Western Balts tribe had kind of its own dialect. kind of. And to speak about the specific artifacts, so after analyzing the artifacts typical for the both, for example, Sambian, Attengian, South Curonian, Scalvian, I came to analyze of artifacts very specific to one or another tribes, like, for example, miniatures of horse harnesses or other artifacts characteristic to the south and partially to the northern Curonian area and to Scalvian region, and almost unknown for Prussians, except some southern Russian graveyards like Krokin, but it's another kind of story. So just little horses, a joke, yet another. And going next, the next feature was the analysis of the main features of burial rites in the Western Baltic area. So the mapping, the analysis of social scene on the basis, on the background of the cemeteries, and analyzing society from society. I forgot what, I'm sorry. And for example, we know now that first of all, it was important to analyze and to map and to map the different cemeteries with horse harnesses, with graves, with arms, and or with such untypical features like women graves with arms, or male graves with artifacts characteristic to the woman, or the so-named collective cremation graves or Aschenplatz, which are slightly different in every territory. So the Sambian Aschenplatz are coming like the huge concentrations of the double-A cremations. I mean cremations, male cremations or even female cremations supported with horse burials, for example, concentrated in one area, and Curonian or Scalvian one-lay cremation graves appears like something different. Not speaking about the southern Prussian area, about the graves, about the cemeteries with no single graves, but it's a next story and it will be not enough time. So the next step was to analyze, as I told already, the main social features on every mainly investigated cemetery, with the possibility of anthropological analysis, but certainly all this social research of mine being made on the basis of cemeteries, and everyone knows that perhaps cemetery doesn't reflect the usual way of life in everyday way. But in any case, there is a cemetery. It's almost the only one source for investigation of social relation of this time. And certainly, it was important to determine to study not only the ways of interaction of Western Balts with their neighbors and the main ways of contacts and trades in the area. It was important to stress the micro-regions of possible interactions within Western Baltic culture, and I would like to estimate several regions like this. For example, the mouth of Niemen, the area of Scalvians, which is important for studying not only Curonian and Prussian through the Nadrovians contacts, but the context of Western Baltic culture, the interaction of Western Balts with Samogitians and Central Lithuania. The same important, I do not have unfortunately the map here, the same important for the context of Prussians, Curonians and Scalvian is the microregion in the mouth of Deima with the burial rite characteristic to Sambian and Attengian culture, but with a lot of jewelry and goods imported from Scalvian or South Curonian area. And certainly during the investigation, I've made some mistake. Firstly, during the research, during the doctoral research, and on the preparation dissertation, I've been overestimating the Curonian speed as a possible route of interaction for Prussian and Curonian tribes before the German scheme in the 13th century. And then after the research I found that there is no stable settlement situation or cemeteries till the second part of the 13th century in the Curonian speed. So till the part the German Orden began to build a new infrastructure in the region. So, and what is the most important and what is the next step? Because certainly I hope to prepare the book till the middle of the autumn, because I'm just I would say I was pretty tired to work on this topic from the 2007, so it's time to publish it. And what is the best from all this collection of graves, artifacts, some interesting or peculiar facts that Western Balts sealed deposit data. I mean, the most cemeteries, sometimes quartz, gives quite a unique situation in the Eastern Baltic region, which is quite comfortable to get the more precise chronology, not only for the Western Baltic world, but to the Eastern Baltic region, entire Eastern Baltic region, because the situation when Prussian, I mean Sambian, or South Curonian or Scalvian sealed deposit or cremated grave, altogether these local finds consist both imported goods imported from the West, for example, like Hanseatic bronze bowls, and altogether the types of goods impacted or imported directly from the East, from the Old Russia territory, and they are appearing all together, giving us already more by the way of cross-dating, giving us already more precise relative chronology, altogether with some analogies for local made goods from the Middle Poland or Scandinavia. And for example, to demonstrate, there is so the situation when Sambian cremation graves represent altogether West and East imports, altogether with local finds. It's really far from unique. And the next thing is the plenty of organic remains which are found in this close deposit. So altogether with building more altogether with creating more precise typological sequences or typological growth on the basis of cross-dating of East and West imports found in the same grave, we can use the organic material from the sorted, the most appropriate graves to get C4T dating and to go through from the relative chronology to the absolute one. And why we should do this? Because the problem with working with Viking and post-Viking age, we are working with so-named historical archaeology, and the main problem of history and of interaction between history and archaeology is the meaning of time itself. The time of history is the time and chronology of history has an absolute character. So in the meaning of history, we are thinking about the dates, about events, and the time in archaeology has everyone knows it's a relative. Something is older, something later, something and is earlier and nothing precise. And I did it getting by this way this very rich and diverse data of Western Balt cemeteries. I would state this as a next stage of my research in the nearest future after the publication of this work. So thank you very much for your attention.